Hey everybody. In today's video, I'm going to revive a technique that I did at some of my retreats. It's actually a variation on a couple of retreats. And the important thing to remember is that the variable I'm going to be talking about is photo paper. So photo paper does all sorts of magical things that you've seen in several of my videos. And I'm just taking the pre-cut sheets that I have listed under supplies. This is my favorite size because it's kind of a card making size. And also I tested a few before my retreats and not all of the surfaces behave the same way. So this is the one that I've used since 2016. What I'm doing is I am using embossing ink and a background stamp to stamp onto multiple sheets of this paper because I'm going to show you how different watercolor mediums react to photo paper and to this resist technique. So the watermark ink is providing the resist. Now, when I first did this, I think it was actually in 2017, we did it exclusively with powdered watercolor. So the class that I taught then, I used the powdered watercolor, the exact one that I'm going to show you today. But I'm also going to add other watercolor mediums in case you don't have this particular watercolor. You can still do this technique. So photo paper reacts in a very unique way to all of these water-based mediums. And the first one that I'm going to use is liquid watercolor. And I noticed when I was using this, I'm using the neons because I'm an 80s girl and I love neon. So I'm using two different neon colors. And I did notice when I was picking up this ink with the stamped photo paper, that it was actually activating the emulsion a little bit. You're going to see that difference in the final result. But you can already see the resist forming here. But I will tell you that this particular medium reacts a really different way, which is always fun. It's why I love to test with different mediums because they're all going to react differently. And this one gave me a very unexpected result that I really, really liked. So you'll see that when I move on to the other mediums. So I just picked up the leftover ink on a second stamp panel, and then I'm just going to clean my craft mat before moving on to the next medium. So make sure you get the rest of that off, especially since they do interact a little bit differently. So now I will take my powdered watercolor, which is the one, like I said, I used at my retreat. Those of you who've been to my retreat remember this day. It was very fun. There were lots of oohs and ahs with photo paper and powdered watercolor. So you're going to have some fond memories, I hope. I do. I actually still have one of the cards from this retreat. So this is an old standby. So I'm going to move the finished cards off of my craft mat so that I don't mix anything, and then I'll just activate the powdered watercolor with water. This is an important step. This is what's going to pop up that resist for you, so be sure and do add watercolor. It works better than adding water. It's better than adding the water to the paper afterwards. Definitely add the water to the medium. Really pretty. So the next medium is going to be water reactive ink. So these are all essentially different forms of watercolor. We're just trying them all out. So these are Hero Hues reactive inks. And I've chosen some kind of pale colors just because the other ones were so bold. I want you to see that this can be really subtle, but still have a lot of detail. So you can see that background stamp. It's so crisp and clean. That resist that forms right when you pick up that medium is really, really precise. So I think you can use your most detailed stamps if you'd like. When we did this technique, I used a very bold stamp for the resist class. that we did, but I actually really like this delicate one. Very fun. So now I am going to add one of my favorite colors, one of my favorite reactive ink colors, which is root beer, because this gets a color separation that you don't see with some of the other Hero Hues colors, and I just love everything about it. It's a brown color primarily, but it will separate into a green and a pink, and I'm hoping that you'll really be able to see the pink when I show you the close-up photos of this, because it is so beautiful. That little rose color that kind of creeps in. Oh my gosh, I just love it. It's like, I don't know what it's like, but it's very organic and it's really pretty. And this ink pad in particular, you get, it's like a 2-for-1 ink pad because you get this beautiful warm brown. But then if you do techniques like this, you also get the color separation. Now here's where you can see how the liquid watercolor really changed the design. See how it sort of fuzzed out a little bit, whereas the other mediums, the stamp image is very, very crisp. So that feeling that I had when I was picking up the liquid watercolor where the emulsion got a little bit sticky, that was actually happening because look how crisp the other ones are. And this one has like a fractured kind of look about it, where I think that emulsion was getting broken down by something in that pigment. And it's really, really fun. This is the kind of accident that you have when you test medium after medium after medium that you'll never know if you don't. So sometimes what you think is a failure is actually just a new technique. So don't be afraid of that. And I love that I discovered that when I was reviving this old process that is actually really, really simple. I love that I found that. So these all look really different, but the two most different ones are the liquid watercolor. The other ones, the stamp image stays so crisp. I just love it. So this is a Christmas stamp, but you could use this really just as a basic geometric background. You can see that kind of plummy rose in the root beer sample. So beautiful. Love it so much. So here are some of the finish cards that I made with this technique. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you try this. I hope there are water mediums that I have not used that you will try with this technique. Head over to my blog for more information, and thanks so much for watching.